Well, thank you very much for taking your time to see me today. It was a pleasure meeting you in London, and I'm so glad I met you.
Likewise.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Likewise.
So I hope we can take this to the next level.
Yes,
And saving
we do too.
For me, I've seen many people with mental health problems. I've got some treatment myself. I was disabled, and I went through that. Today, my best friend's father had dementia. It's all this is about giving something to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the main work I have now is innovation on cancer. So this is what the main interest as well. So your book starts with the trip to the forest. It was good. So tell us about how do you capture that at the starting of the book?
Going into the details of the story,
No, just
you mean, or like
the starting point, because that's the bullet
it's
point.
because it happened quite a few years after Hanne had cancer.
Yeah.
And in many ways, it was quite surprising that that could happen so many years after.
Yeah.
Because it happened, that was the third time it happened, and we felt that it was important to somehow have that be part of the story. That even not too long ago, Hanne is still, well, we're both, of course, still dealing with the psychological late effects of the cancer.
But isn't it also like, we thought that it was just gonna be maybe not one time, but then when it happened the second time and then it happened again, it kind of like, not giving the pattern, but that actually it wasn't just this one time, it was something more. If I could say it like that, it was something maybe a little bit bigger, so it wasn't just like my body reacting to the chemo, or it was, but it has actually maybe done more damage than we thought that it had.
And it was actually surprising to both of us when it happened the third time. And the third time was in many ways maybe almost the worst. And the experience in the wood was the most extreme for Hanne and for the friend that was there with her, and of course for me, but I've seen it a few more times, so you learn every time. But it was
that takes a lot of your energy. You have to run, you have to find them.
It was a very hard. Also, how do you find someone in the woods? You have I had nowhere. They didn't know where they were. They were just in the woods, and I couldn't call because Hanne got more and more paranoid if she talked on the phone. So we could only text. And it was quite hard.
That's what I felt actually about this one. That was the hardest, trying to find someone and trying to save them at the right time. And you're trying to navigate, trying to the forest.
And I also, me knowing what Hanne wanted to do there. I knew that I had to find them. There was no alternative.
So what was in your mind when you start running to find her and you found few people on the path to help you?
I think at that point you're just in a mode of solving it. So in my mind I just trying to find every way I can to find them. So I just, of course there's anxiety, there's fear of, nervous, whatever. But at the end of the day, when you're in a situation like that, it's about just figuring it out, solving it, and getting it done. So for me, I had to find them. And I thought of every way I could to just find them.
So
luckily, I did.
You did, that's the big thing. Congrats for that. I think that you did a lot of effort, you spent a lot of effort, energy to find them. And on the path, few people look at you as a stranger. How did you handle that? There was a guy.
Luckily, I didn't have to. I was just worried that they would try to interfere, and Hanne was crying. If they would thought it was my fault, they would interfere and say, "What are you doing?" If Hanne would maybe have started saying, "Get him away from me," then that would have been very hard because I wouldn't have been able to explain something that they would believe in. So I was very nervous that could happen because I don't know how I would have solved it. But luckily, he just looked at me, and then he looked at Hanne. He looked and he didn't say anything. He just walked.
That's
And
the good
in my
thing.
head, I was trying to, like, what is it called when you talk without words? I tried to send a signal saying, don't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything.
Yeah. I think
And he
that's-
didn't, so maybe it worked.
Well, I think sometimes it's God helping you. I think that's the situation. I think which was good, but I was very impressed by that. How can you handle those kind of situations? Because it's about seconds. You have milliseconds to check things. And that guy can misinterpret your reaction, can call the police.
Yeah, it could.
That can change the whole life
Yeah.
cycle of that evening or that day. And the time was getting darker.
And that's also, I was worried if I wasn't able to find them or get Hanne out before it was dark.
Yeah.
It would have been impossible.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known what to do. And after I found Hanne, if I wasn't able to get her out of the forest,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what I would have done. We couldn't be in the forest at night. That would have been.
That's the beauty of the book. Because
So-
it gives you like a shot, it's kind of a film.
It's a shot.
That's how I
Yeah.
felt it
Yeah.
when I was start reading the book. So
That's,
getting back to you, Hanne. So the first time you hear, I mean, you were told that you have to be tested, and you have all this slow process testing on that.
Yeah.
And how did you feel that? How did you manage to to face the child?
With the psychological part.
Yeah, psychologically, yeah.
Well, for me, it's kind of like I remember the part going to the hospital, and I couldn't it was
You didn't expect it
no,
to have the cancer.
no, and it's kind of like being outside your body.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Kind of.
psychological or the cancer?
No, the mental. It is.
No,
Yeah,
the
the
mental.
mental.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah.
So being outside your body, it's kind of like I didn't believe that the doctors, the people that were there, that they were actually there for me. I thought that they would do something bad to me, kind of like, or they weren't on my side, if I can put it like that.
Yeah.
So I thought there was somebody else than actually what they were supposed to do.
Oh,
They
the
were
strangers.
they were supposed to do the examine and everything on me.
Yeah.
But I thought, okay, they're trying to trick me because I've tried this so many times. They did, they checked my heart, they checked everything. But I was kind of like, are they trying to trick me to, kind of like, don't they believe that I've been sick, that I am sick, kind of like. So for me, it was so hard. And I remember parts of it, but not all of it. But I just remember fragments of this kind of like not thinking that they were real, that they were there for me just to take care of me actually. So I just wanted to get away. And as I think I said to Kasper many times, I don't know where I wanted to go because I couldn't stand being in my own thoughts. Like I just wanted somebody to switch it off.
How does that treat? When did that start? At what point?
Well, it's kind of like, I would say that it started at home, because it was at home with all the thoughts, everything running through me, kind of like I was not able to sleep, I was not able to eat, so that was when like the thoughts started, where I kind of like just wanted to, basically somebody to switch off my
Your mind
thoughts.
just took over.
Yeah.
Paranoid.
Yeah.
You can even tell. I can even see in her eyes and her skin. Everything looks. You could just tell. It switches over, and
Yeah.
This is
the
before
mind
the
has
treatment.
taken over.
This is before the treatment, yeah.
No, before the psychological treatment.
Yeah.
Okay. This is during when you have the cancer, but before you start having the cancer, before knowing you have a cancer.
Yeah.
No, this is after.
This is after.
While
yeah,
after
yeah,
cancer.
Yeah.
So how do you describe what's cancer for you?
What's cancer for me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Because it's kind of a scary.
it's a very scary.
Yeah.
It's a very scary thing because it's like this kind of ghost or devil, if I can call it. Has many names, but it's like this thing that you never see. You're not able to confront it because it's just something that's inside of you, and somebody is just that the doctors are telling you that you have cancer is the most scary part that I've ever tried. because you kind of like, not that you know, but you kind of like, you have seen images, you have seen, or at least I have pictures, you know, of people going through cancer treatment, and then suddenly it hits oneself and you have to go through it, but you don't know what you actually, what you're gonna expect perhaps, or what to expect.
Yeah.
So it's like, but you just know that once they tell you, it's like you have to, well, using the metaphor that you have to jump on the train. It's like a fast running train and you have to jump on it.
Yeah.
And you don't have time to think, you just have to navigate in it. And I guess the part where it's more scary as well is that it's kind of like you don't have the time to think about it. You don't have the time to digest it. It's just like they tell you, and then as soon as they tell you, they will also, you know, that you're losing your hair.
Yeah.
So it becomes visible to other people. You're not able just to keep it for yourself.
Yeah.
It's like it's every man surrounding you that knows that something is wrong.
Yeah.
For sure. So it's like I'm a private person
Okay.
in some ways.
This is good. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a private person in some ways. So it's like I want to decide who I want to tell that I'm actually going through this. Well, for this, my cancer.
Yeah.
But at that time, it became so real that I was like, I can't hide it. I have to go in front of it,
Yeah.
tell people, or I would have to hide, kind of like, you know,
Inside.
wig and
Wig,
yeah,
yeah.
everything, kind of like do that. But it doesn't matter because it's still visible, because something is changing. You can see it in your face, you can see it in everything. So it's like you actually can't hide from it. It's very hard for sure. So for me it was like either I have to confront it and kind of like be in front of it,
Yeah.
and tell people. So I actually did that, and that was very nerve-wracking just to
Recognize that.
yeah. And I took it like kind of like one person at the time, and kind of like, and I actually went to my work and I told one person by one
colleague,
person.
yeah.
Exactly. So I had the time to actually just, if they had questions or if they wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
So that was hard, but it was also given. In that way, it was, you know, if you could put it like that in that situation, because people were sweet and were kind of like, you know, wanted to do whatever they could to help you if there was anything that they could help you with.
Yeah.
So it was very sweet responses that I actually received at that time.
Our whole apartment was full of flowers.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a lot of people
Came with flowers on that.
send flowers.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
giving a card saying,
Yeah.
let us know we can help.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know cancer is a killer
Yeah.
for anyone in the mind. As soon
Yeah.
as you mention cancer is a killer.
Yeah.
So,
It's all consuming too.
Yeah.
It takes over
Yeah.
completely everything.
so what was your react when someone tell you, the doctor said you have a cancer? So how did you cope with that? Because the cancer is not that easy to adapt it.
Well, first it's like they tell you have cancer, and then second it's kind of like, for my type of cancer, it's
Yeah.
if it's not treated, it will kill me.
Yeah.
But if treated, I will survive. So at that point, most likely I will.
How did you
survive.
prepare yourself to get ready for that?
You can't. It's
It was very hard to do.
you can't. It's like you just have to take it one day at a time.
Yeah.
So you can't prepare yourself. You just have to take it one
Yeah.
day at a time. It's like, and I guess at that time I couldn't see further than just these couple of days. Perhaps I couldn't plan. I couldn't do anything. I was kind of like locked, and I was also locked because of the hospital. They were like, okay, now you're gonna be in treatment
Every
for
day
half a
almost
year.
you have to
Yeah,
go.
yeah. So you have to go and do treatments or tests, or they had to
Scannings.
do all kinds of stuff. So I think at that time the only thing I could was take it one day at a time, and then I couldn't plan. Like I couldn't even what do you call it? Like kind of like it was too overwhelming. So I
Oh,
just had, basically
Yeah.
I had to take it one day at a time.
Have you ever told anybody about cancer before you were
No,
knowing yourself they have cancer?
no,
No.
no one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you haven't got to your friends and anyone in your life.
no,
So it's
have
kind of
some
a big
friends.
shock for
Yeah.
you the first time you hear about
Yeah.
cancer,
yeah,
and you cope with it and you start your journey for treatment.
yeah.
So when you tell Kasper, how did you feel yourself? This is when someone you love, they tell you they have cancer.
Yeah, I mean, I was there when we were told, so we
Okay.
were told at the same time.
Yeah.
But when Hanne told me that shit, the doctor has put her to be checked for cancer,
Yeah.
it was quite shocking because she never mentioned anything, or she didn't know or whatever, but like it just came out of the blue. So then for 2 weeks there was some test taken, and then for 2 weeks we had to wait.
Yeah.
And then then we go to the hospital, and then they told us, which was very surreal. It was really like time stopped
Yeah.
when you get that message.
Mhm.
For me as well. Normally I have a lot to say, and I have a lot of questions or whatever, and in that situation
Yeah.
it's like everything stopped. And I think we both maybe it was even expected that that's probably
Yeah, yeah.
what's the message they would
Yeah.
give.
Mhm.
But even then, when we heard it, it was like a shock.
Yeah. So how did you cope both of you in that time?
I think at that point it becomes a thing of getting on that train and then just trying to keep up.
Yeah.
It takes over your life completely, and for me as a partner, I have to try to keep my other life or regular life or whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it
Mhm.
at the same time, but it's
Yeah.
all consuming, this disease, so it
Mhm.
takes up all your thought process, all your time, and it's hard to focus on the other things that you do in your life.
Yeah.
And of course you could just, spare time is fine, but I couldn't just not go to work, but it's hard to focus because you're thinking about this all the time, and we have to go to the hospital
Yeah.
2 or 3 times a week, and it was important to me to go with Hanne,
Yeah.
always. So I, as much as I was allowed to, I went
Yeah.
with her.
Yeah.
I would say it's kind of like, well, now it sounds like that it consumes you.
Yeah.
For it's like the time being, at that time, it consumes you.
Yeah.
It becomes
It's
everything.
all-consuming.
Yeah. So you kind of like trying to navigate in
Yeah.
this and try to find your standing point.
Mhm.
You're trying to find something to hold on to, kind of like.
Yeah.
So it's like just getting back to that again, taking it one day at a time and
Mhm.
just being, okay, this is
So
what's
you have
gonna happen.
kind of daily plan,
Yeah,
more agile based.
yeah,
Okay, let me take you back to once you were informed that you had a cancer, you went to the restaurant, had a lunch,
yeah,
and you sat there.
yeah.
And what was the first thought you had before you start eating, before you start ordering?
I think I just said that kind of like just basic, I have kind of
Yeah.
like I have cancer, like
Yeah.
what is this? Like
Yeah.
what is this? What's gonna happen?
It's
Yeah.
how we even,
And I think
what can we even do? It's
Yeah.
like, and we didn't even get the food, and then the hospital called me because Hanne didn't pick up her phone.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Did you
like,
mention
oh,
that?
you got a message. We sent Hanne a message, and she's not picking up the phone. She has to go into her blood sample tomorrow morning. And
Yeah.
it's like it just starts, and it's just like,
So it
okay.
didn't stop the things was following you even to
It
the
wasn't.
restaurant
Yeah, it followed, and from then on, it followed
Yeah.
every.
every day.
And
Yeah.
so for me, like being a control person, I try to plan things, but you can't.
You
It's
can't,
completely out of control, and all you can do is try to keep up.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think just to say this as well, like here we have where it's like we have our what do you call it, mailbox
Uh-huh.
where you receive
From
all
the-
messages
yeah,
from
government.
hospital, from
Okay.
the
The
government.
hospital system.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
And suddenly it just started, like I opened it and it just said like pling, pling, pling,
Yeah.
because they were
Blood
sending
sample,
all like for
message.
messages for the
Heart
blood
checks,
samples, scans and
everything.
everything. So
Yeah.
right there it kind of like at that point it became even more real, I would say, because it was like okay, what's going on? What are they, kind of like, what are they doing?
So you were
now
overwhelming by those messages.
Yeah, because that was the first kind of like more feeling that it was real.
Yeah.
Because I now could look at papers where everything kind of like became true, that it was actually,
like
this was what was going on.
Or like a binder.
Okay.
So thick with information.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me ask you then, for those people who doesn't understand Danish, have less language skills, all that, how do they need to get this did you call it ebook, email, or is it e-books?
E-books.
So this will be sending, and people with no knowledge of healthcare, cancer, all that, because Kasper, you have it there as a supporter. Even they can't connect with you, and they can connect with him, so he will be able to speak to them easily. But for the other woman who doesn't have support, what would be your advice at this stage, especially on this critical starting point?
Well, I think it's important either that they actually, that the healthcare system is in one way prepare you, kind of like once the doctor is like here, where it's kind of like they're sending you forward, kind of like, okay, we kind of think that you have cancer, we don't know, but we think. At that point, I think it's important to actually tell people you need somebody to, kind of like be at your side, or if you don't have somebody to be at your side, maybe, I know here in Denmark they actually have supporting people that you can bring. Volunteers.
Go to the hospital.
Go to the hospital to get information. But the government here will provide for translators.
Yeah.
No, it's not about
if you don't speak the language and the doctors don't speak English or whatever, but it's important to know that as well.
When you go home, you are having your lunch.
Yeah.
It's not about the language. Having the support psychological. And
that's tough. If you don't have anyone, I don't know.
No, but that's why I'm thinking that they kind of.
What I'm trying to do is now
you have to reach out to somebody, because it's. And of course that's easy for me to say, but it's just so hard to be alone with this. Like first of all, you go into this mode of solving it, while at the same time you don't know what your emotions are doing to you, because the reaction comes later, and if there's nobody to talk to, it'll be bottled up inside. I don't know.
Sure.
And then therapy maybe. Because they have in Graversen, the cancer house, you can go in there and just talk to someone.
Okay.
So if you don't know anybody, you can go into that house, and they have social workers and therapists and all these people that will help you. And I think that would be my best advice. Go there. At least find someone.
This is for the Denmark who is available
in Denmark.
Service. Those who doesn't have any service, those kind of.
No.
You have many women in this planet.
But I think you have to reach out to somebody that's close to you, or if you have
you
that.
Don't have someone.
No, but if you don't have, or at least
family, relatives, they can support your friends.
Exactly, or work colleagues.
I think anybody, just to be able to talk.
Okay, let me ask you then, going back to your work colleague, because you choose one person to tell about your story, about your cancer. And you told the next person as well. But you were just saying,
Actually,
in the book, you're telling about the story, how they react that when you told them you haven't got to the hospital based on the cancer. So the reaction was that not very supportive. I'm not saying it's about supportive, but they were not more going into deep to helping you mentally.
I think for that part, the explanation was that people react differently.
Yes.
So it's kind of like you have the people that will meet you and be understanding and kind of like
listening to you.
Exactly, listen to you. And you also have the people that kind of, they don't know, they don't mean it.
They don't want support, but they don't know how to.
They don't know exactly. They just don't know. So it's kind of like we're all human. So it's like some people know how to deal with it and how to react, and other people they just don't know. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to react. They don't, even though they don't mean it. They don't mean it to be a bad person or something like that. They just don't know, to be honest, because they are good people. They just don't know how to handle emotions.
So how did you select the person then? What make you selecting these people out of your colleagues?
For me, it was the people that
Was
are...
it the relationship before you
Yeah,
had?
yeah. It
As
was
they-
Also the ones you work the closest with.
Yeah, the ones that I worked the closest with.
Uh-huh.
So the ones that I had the daily contact with.
Yeah, good relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Was it a woman or a man?
It was actually men.
And you also mostly
Yeah.
work with men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there wasn't that many.
Work colleagues are men.
No, yeah.
But
Okay.
I think also it's you asked how it felt in the beginning for Hanne. I mean, the
Yeah.
first couple of days you weren't really even able to tell anybody without
No.
breaking down crying.
No, I was
So you
just
couldn't-
crying.
you
yeah.
Were you crying as well?
Yeah.
Crying a lot.
Yeah.
She couldn't really
Yeah.
even tell anybody.
I couldn't even
without-
leave. I just crawled to bed and I was just. I remember actually I told my employee.
Mm-hmm.
I called him and then I told him that
Oh, was it on the phone?
it was actually on the
Is it her
phone. Yeah,
boss?
yeah, my
Okay.
boss.
Okay.
So I actually told him that I couldn't, I needed to digest all this.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything. So I had a couple of days where I was just
You need to
crying.
rest.
Like paralyzed.
Yeah.
Mentally paralyzed
Yeah.
for a minute.
Yeah.
What were you crying for?
Because it was.
Were you seeking for help or were you taking out your...
No, it was just the emotions. It was
Yeah,
all the
emotional
emotions
reaction.
inside the body.
I think.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of
It's
like
a
where
good
it's
thing.
like it's a shock.
Uh-huh.
Even though that you're kind of like, okay, this doesn't feel good, and the doctors tells you this doesn't feel good, so you're kind of like already there,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like expecting the worst, hoping for the best,
Yeah.
and then they tell you, and then it's like the world just crumble apart. And I think for that part, it's like those emotions has to come out, and from my point, they came out crying.
Crying to help.
So it's like it's bigger than yourself. It's bigger
Yeah.
than something, and you can't. I couldn't keep this inside of me, so I kind of like I just had to cry it out. I just had to cry some of these emotions out.
Yeah.
And once I cried some of those out, it was like, okay, now I can. Now some of
I
it
can
has,
heal, yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of like start to take care of myself and.
And it starts digesting. Really.
Yeah.
After you cry.
Yeah.
So were you sitting by yourself during this time when you cry, or were you having Kasper?
I was
to-
by myself. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just kind
So
of.
you felt to be...
I felt I had not
You
that
need
I
more
had.
space, time for yourself.
Yeah,
and
I
cry.
needed the space just to be
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
kind of like just to having all these emotions coming
So
out.
this is a good advice you give to other people as well now, if they have to get out their stress and mentally.
I
crying is
think
a
we're
point.
we're all different, but I
Yeah.
think at least it's kind of like it's definitely freeing some of the
Yeah.
emotions. I think it's a good way to come out with some of the
Yeah.
emotions that are inside of you. Otherwise, I think it will be bottled up.
So, Kasper,
It's okay to cry.
how did you cope with it? Because if we see someone is crying for long, non-stop, and this is about
Yeah.
cancer,
Try to comfort her.
yeah, was it easy to do that? How did you find yourself getting to that problem?
It's hard. I mean, it's hard on me as well. My
Yeah.
world is also sort of changed forever, you know. So I'm not a big crier, so
Yeah,
my emotions come out in talk more than. But I mean, I was very emotional, and with Hanne crying, I think I just hug her and try to comfort her as much as
Yeah.
I could. And then when we could, we would talk about it.
yeah.
Somehow just
Mhm.
talk about this ordeal that is now put
Yeah.
on our lives.
Yeah.
It's hard.
So, yeah. So getting back to the treatment, because you had an
Mm.
injection for
Yeah.
the first time, it was very painful.
Yeah.
And you were standing there, seeing
Yeah.
getting injected.
Mm.
So how did you feel that when you see her
It was
having
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah.
You see her react, and a lot of medical personnel ran into the room,
Yeah.
started working on her, and I didn't know if
Yeah.
it was.
Because one of the first injections didn't work well.
It was a,
No,
it was
no,
an
I had
allergic
it, yeah.
reaction.
Yeah. So how did you react on that?
I just stepped back and looked at them work on her, but it
Yeah.
went so fast. I don't even know. I was
Yeah.
just in shock.
Yeah.
Like I just looked at it and thinking, what's going on?
Uh-huh.
You hear an alarm go off in the room,
Yeah.
and people run in, and you're thinking, what's happening?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's over, and then they're like, oh, it's okay now.
Okay.
You're okay again.
So how
She
long was
couldn't-
that?
I don't know.
Few seconds? Few minutes? Yeah.
A minute.
Few minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a few minutes. But
So how did you feel after they settled down?
and then I was nervous if
Yeah.
that keep happening. or
Yeah.
what can happen, what can be the consequences, because they
Yeah.
talk about in rare cases she could have cardiac arrest or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But obviously you're in a hospital, you know that they
Mm.
keep an eye on it, so in that way it feels,
Mhm.
okay, if that were to happen, it should happen there,
Yeah.
and they will make sure she's okay.
Yeah.
So that was a little comfort, but it was scary. For me it was scary to look at.
Yes. That's
And,
the
and
worst.
something I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I just look at it
Okay.
and try to not be in the way.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. That's the worst thing I think.
Yeah,
I mean, the patient is there, but he doesn't feel.
You can't do
of course,
anything.
the main pain is on you,
Yeah.
yeah.
but someone who loves you, looking there and watching you struggling.
And I want to help, but
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
You can't do anything.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.